Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aline McNall, and I'm a Senior Legislative Representative here at IEEE-USA. I'll be doing this week's Washington Update. Please stay tuned in 2 weeks for our next one. But for this week, Congress has been out of session for a little bit now, so I'll kind of go over a few things and certainly happy to answer questions. But look for more content in the coming weeks as Congress comes back. And for right now, things are pretty slow in Washington. So an update on energy. The Department of Energy did host their first Net Zero World Ministerial following the copious meeting, so that's the UN meeting. There's a couple quotes on their website, and it seems to have been a big success for this administration. Their focus has been, of course, on improving clean energy throughout the United States, and this was one of the actions that they've recently taken to do so. The Department of Energy is also focusing on the first-year milestone of the Inflation Reduction Act, especially highlighting some of the energy savings to consumers and then clean energy projects that they have been working on for the year since the passing of that act. Senate in July held a hearing to examine permitting for electrical transmission lines, for pipelines and energy production on federal lands. So that is of note for the members of IEEE who work on energy policy and energy in general. The transmission issues highlighted in that do showcase kind of the discussions on the Senate side on energy transmission in general. So an update on the National Defense Authorization Act in the House. So the budget line we care most about is, of course, the research, development, tested evaluation budget. So that's $145.1 billion in the House bill. As you all may or may not be aware, the House and the Senate each have their own separate Defense Authorization Act. It is a must-pass bill. And we look forward to the conference, which is kind of the coming together of each of the bills, the House and the Senate, in the fall. And kind of IEEE will play a role in the negotiations there as the defense kind of issues come up relating to science and technology that our members are certainly involved in. So some key highlights from the House bill. So this bill requires the Department of Defense to develop new and additional aerial testing to address shortfalls in hypersonic testing capacity. Our R&D policy committee does focus a lot on hypersonic policy, so I wanted to highlight that in the House bill. Providing an additional $63 million for hypersonics-related research and development across multiple programs of the Department of Defense. The bill also requires the Department of Defense to improve recruitment and retention for its hypersonics workforce. So I look forward to hearing about kind of how this will move forward. The House bill and the Senate bill will differ a little bit in some of these provisions, and then the combination bill will be passed later this year. The House bill does codify the Defense Innovation Unit, and it strengthens science and technology partnerships, as well as addressing issues of technology transition. Of course, the bill does contain many other provisions, but I did want to highlight these this week for those of you who might be interested in taking a look or asking questions about the bill. Certainly happy to have those at the end of the presentation. For the Senate, the research, development, test, and evaluation budget is $146.1 billion. And this bill, of course, supports the National Defense Strategy, as well as discusses some ITAR regulations, the role of the Space Force, calls for a report on defense-related quantum computing. There's an assessment of the Defense Innovation Unit activities, and many other provisions. I just highlighted a few in this particular slide. But again, looking forward to kind of seeing how the House and the Senate come together on defense authorization activities in the fall. Some appropriations news. So House appropriators are proposing to multiply the Defense Innovation Unit's budget as part of a strategy to expand and accelerate the use of commercial technology. So the budget would actually expand it to $1 billion. And this budget expansion is actually due to new technology strategy. And would go to support the development of commercial systems. The DoD would continue to focus on AI, on autonomy, cybersecurity, telecommunications, energy, space, human systems, and other key technology areas. These are some of the ones called out in the bill, but the DoD does have a specific list of 14 key technology areas, and a lot of the appropriations bill as well as the Defense Authorization Act do focus on those key technology areas. So some of these actions are driven by the newly formed Office of Strategic Capital. The Senate Appropriations Bill includes funding for new technology initiatives. For science and technology initiatives, it includes $20.3 billion. And then in terms of the comparison to the president's budget proposal, this is a $770 million increase over the president's budget for basic research programs in the defense area. A quick update on artificial intelligence. So IEEE's artificial intelligence community is a very strong one, and we certainly applaud our members in this space. The president's budget did include a lot of funding for AI programs throughout the federal agency budgets. And so across the federal agencies, there is certainly an increase and an increased focus in AI, as well as an increased focus in the budget for these programs. One quick thing of note, the Department of Energy's Office of AI was in fact eliminated in this year's president's budget in favor of moving the AI activities to the Department of Energy's Office of Science. So this is kind of a consolidation move to improve kind of the workflow of AI activities. The Office of Science is, of course, the largest funder of basic research. And so the AI activities, which are largely basic research focused, would then come under that office. AI does continue to be a priority for the administration. And so for many federal agencies, there's kind of an increased budget for AI. So this includes the Department of Defense as well as Energy, but also the National Science Foundation and National Institutes of Standards and Technology. Speaking of NIST, quick NIST update. So NIST recently revised the cybersecurity framework. So this is a governance function added to the framework. So that's one of the updates that they have made. So this is kind of the world's leading cybersecurity guidance. So this is the first update of that guidance since its release. NIST has collected feedback from the STEM community, including IEEE members, for well over a year in working on this framework update. So the Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 is a tool used by organizations to understand, reduce, and communicate about cyber risk. I did put the website on the slide for those of you who are interested in looking at the framework specifically. And certainly, again, happy to answer any questions you have. In some space news, the Arecibo Observatory has been shut down. So this was the world's largest single-disk radio telescope, and it was 305 meters. The collapse in 2020 did cause a lot of discussion at the National Science Foundation. And after a long series of deliberations and communications between the astronomy community as well as the research community in general that utilizes the observatory, the NSF did announce in October of 2022 that it would no longer be using the observatory, no longer be using the facility as an observatory. So the contracts for staff did end on the 14th of August, and it looks like it will be turned into kind of a research center in Puerto Rico. Another update on space. So the Federal Communications Commission recently did establish a new office, and this would be the Office of Space. Julie Kearney is the Space Bureau Chief. So this office will play a role in advancing FCC's space innovation agenda. In particular, it will promote the competitiveness and innovation global communications marketplace. They will lead on policy and licensing. And IEEE does look forward to working with this new office at the FCC. Quick highlight for an award ceremony that IEEE has been a strong supporter of for many years. So the Golden Goose Awards are a silly sounding science. So they are awards for the scientists who have conducted what originally sounded like very silly ideas, but then ended up having a huge societal impact. Members of Congress on both sides of the aisle really do appreciate hearing about the research community and the path that these kind of ideas took to become reality. There have been 12 award ceremonies, so the 12th annual award ceremony will be on September 27th in person for the first time in quite some time at the Library of Congress. Like I said, IEEE has been a very strong supporter of this award ceremony. And for any of you who are interested, there's a video online for this year's awardees, and that will be available on the website listed. So that's goldengooseaward.com. Another kind of item of note is IEEE is hosting an Innovation Workforce and Research Conference. That will be the 13th to 15th of September in Little Rock, Arkansas. So please look at our website for more information on that, and we look forward to seeing you in Arkansas for those of you who might be interested in registering for that conference. I will now turn to the comments section to see who has questions. So for the first question, I see one from Don. How much of a problem is it for the Department of Energy to be respected at COP26 if we might elect Trump again in 2024? So IEEE takes a nonpartisan stance in terms of the election. Members of the UN are certainly willing to work with the United States on a variety of issues. And so I can't speak to individual countries' kind of impressions of the United States. I do know that the European nations have certainly been willing to work with the Biden administration on their priorities, particularly as they relate to energy issues. And so I think it's a matter of looking forward to our election and seeing who becomes elected, rather than assuming that we might elect one or the other candidate from either party. Question from Brendan Godfrey. How does the House propose that DoD improve recruitment and retention for hypersonic workers? That is still an area of debate. So I think it's just an area where Congress would like for there to be a focus at the Department of Defense. And so in terms of specifics, I think those discussions are very much ongoing. And I can certainly look into that a little bit more and perhaps update you all in the next Washington update. But I do know that workforce issues in general for this administration, for the Department of Defense, just ensuring that we do have the STEM workforce that we need for many areas of technology has certainly been a focus. It's a focus of many congressional bills, including the CHIPS Act, of course. And so we do look forward to working with DoD to ensure that this goal is met, and so that we do have a very strong hypersonic workforce in the United States. Anything new on Schedule F related proposals? I'm going to need a little bit of update on what you mean by Schedule F. Well, I kind of look into that. I see. There are proposals for or against allowing the administration to fire civil servants for any reason or no reason. I am unfamiliar with those specific proposals, but certainly can look into that for future updates. The Golden Goose Award Ceremony website has certainly been included in the chat, so I hope that some of you will be able to watch the video on that website and perhaps attend in person. Let's see. So it looks like Brendan has answered the question. Schedule F would reintroduce the so-called spoils system originally banned by the Pendleton Act about 140 years ago. I will admit to not know enough about the Schedule F issue to comment publicly at the moment, but certainly happy to look into it and comment either offline or in the next update. So thank you for the question, Brendan. And then also the information for the conference I mentioned, the Innovation Workforce and Research Conference, has been included online. And so I look forward to hopefully seeing many of you register and look forward to engaging in Arkansas. Seeing no further questions, I think we'll conclude this week's legislative update, a Washington update, and I look forward to speaking with you all in 2 weeks. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.